Welcome to Just Asia. This week's program will highlight some of activities conducted by the Asian Human Rights Commission and its partners in the region to mark Human Rights Day, December 10. As Just Asia reported last week, the theme of this particular year's Human Rights Day was Our Rights, Our Freedoms, Always, with a particular focus on freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. Just Asia will bring you the following reports. German ambassador to Sri Lanka speaks to survivors in Kandy on Human Rights Day. AHRC's Dr. Mitra conducts workshop on violence and human rights in Kathmandu, Nepal. Indonesian human rights defenders mark day by gathering in front of Presidential Palace, while human rights defenders were denied permission to mark the day in Burma. Basil Fernando spoke to a larger audience in Copenhagen, Denmark on this International Day. And finally, UK Ambassador to Beijing brutally pressed China on progress on Human Rights Day, whilst freedom and rights dramatically deteriorated in 2015. Welcome to HRC TV's Just Asia. I am Amila Sampath. We start our Human Rights Day review in Kandy, Sri Lanka, where German Ambassador Dr. Jurgan Morgard was chief guest and Bishop Cletus Pereira was the guest of honor at the event organized by the Human Rights Office. More than 450 participants, including survivors of rape and torture, families of the disappeared, former prisoners, as well as many human rights activists, attend the event. Here's the German Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Dr. Jurgan Morgard.
I thank you very much for inviting me here, because 1 year ago it would have been unthinkable to have an event like this with exposure of internationally renowned lawyer and myself. I have been in this country for 3.5 years. I traveled widely. I have seen the times before the change of government. I have talked to victims of all kinds. I have talked to the ladies who are complaining about the disappeared, about those who are in prison. I also met people, families who had disappeared in the army. I've been talking to witnesses of torture. I have been followed. I have been monitored. I want to congratulate you, not only you here as human rights activists in the Human Rights Office. I want to congratulate you because you brought a change. You brought a change, not us, not a foreign country, not the foreign governments. It has always you who voted for a change and bringing in a new system. I have been around. I have been around also at the beginning of the year. I could observe many changes. However, only 5 months ago, I was in Madu. After my visit, CID came and was still questioning the priest there, finding out what I was doing there. 5 months ago, 5 months after the change of government. We've heard about the lawyer, about justice. Justice is important, as we see here. I like to make another aspect. It's not only justice, the truth has to come out. You have to bring what happened, the injustice, you have to bring out into society. You have to talk about it. This is an important role for writers, artists, movies. Only when everything is out to the open, people can also forgive. It's not only about judiciary. Judiciary is important. But I encourage you now, who have been working for the human rights, those who have been the victims, who have been champions of human rights, bring out everything. Only if things are out in society, people can talk about it, can get aware, learn from history and move on.
Meanwhile, in Nepal, the Asian Human Rights Commission conducted a workshop on the topic of violence and human rights on the eve of the International Human Rights Day. 17 participants from the number of human rights organizations, the National Human Rights Commission, journalists, and lawyers spent 3 days discussing on violence in its many forms with Dr. Rajat Mitra and Dr. Mitra, who led the workshop in Kathmandu. The workshop was followed by a rally on December 10th. Many human rights organizations participated in the rally. HRC joined the rally in solidarity with the many victims of human rights violations in Nepal.
Terrorism is characterized by several important things. One is that this person believes that the only way he can achieve his goal is by creating terror. right? So for whatever method he uses, most of them are violent, most of them are to do with physical destruction, and this he believes will achieve his end. He's governed by a certain specific ideology which says that this will bring about a desired end, a desired kind of a society. Does poverty cause violence? It's one of the major issues. A violent man who beats his wife, he says that I could not stop myself, mujhe gussa itna aa gaya. Even some religious texts, they have portions where they say that a man can control a woman by beating, right? That's fortunate. People who act violent in wars say that they had to obey orders, right? So it is a deeply debatable, deeply issue. But what is important to know is that violence can be stopped, it can be controlled, there can be no excuse for violence.
So it's so much interesting, yeah. So from my perspective, I learned that how individual should be aware, how he or she should be aware about his right and his attitude to control the crime and to protect and to promote the human rights of every individual. So it's so interesting and so much wonderful days I spent over here during these 3 days.
As the situation of the country is very bad, I am very glad to have this training session in Kathmandu first, and to get some knowledge about to how I can help those peoples who are in trouble, in trauma, in pain, or those who are not able to get any information from the government. If I have those trainings, I can provide them also. I can make them able to know about some problems and to overcome their problems. It's really very helpful for me, and I am very thankful to AHRC.
Corruption is increasing day by day in Nepal. It's everywhere, government level and non-government level also. So that it is very difficult to find out the corruption cases in publicly. It is regarded to belongs to the human nature, so that people are not aware so much not aware from the corruption and its effect. It is belongs to the corruption and crimes.
Son and daughter, maybe son and daughter, they were equal in their property right. Our law says, our constitution provided that guarantee, but in our situation, in our society, they can't get equal access to property as being a daughter or as being a woman. One problem we have to see that, and another is if the woman, she or girl, they will suffer from abuse, society, they blame themselves, not perpetrator. Society did not accept them to reunion in that society. They said she can't stay here. If she stay here, our children also like same. No, that's why that girl or that woman, they did not stay our society. But society did not accept. In that situation, we have to handle that case to reunion in society for maybe the trafficked girl, maybe abused girl. It's difficult in our society.
Also on December 10, the Asian Human Rights Commission, along with 40 national human rights groups in Indonesia, celebrated International Human Rights Day in front of the Presidential Palace. Approximately 600 people joined the event to express their views on government human rights policy. The participants included human rights defenders, victims, workers, and students. The police tried to disperse the crowds and accused them of violating a law against conducting demonstrations in front of the palace without permissions. After the organizers showed the permit letter, the police let them continue. Asian Human Rights Commission's Indonesia desk officer, Chris Biantoro, was there on site.
This is International Human Rights Day organized by human rights groups in Indonesia, especially in Jakarta and some other cities around Jakarta. The mass consists of victims, students, human rights defender, human rights lawyer, landslide activists, etc. The celebration takes place in front of the presidential palace.
The Yangon regional government in Burma denied permission for the associations of human rights defenders and promoters of Burma to celebrate the International Human Rights Day at St. Michael Anglican Church. The organizers requested permission to commemorate the event on November 24. The divisional government waited 2 weeks before refusing to approve the request, despite government regulation stipulating that any request for public gathering must be answered within 48 hours. They received a letter signed by Rangoon Chief Minister Min Swe only on December 8. Myanmar's National Human Rights Commission had a plan to provide the opening remark to the event, but withdrew after the government denied permission. The organization still managed to commemorate the day in their office with over 300 people in attendance and with participations and support from members of Burma's international community, including the European ambassadors and the US ambassador. The Associations of Human Rights Defenders and Promoters of Burma has held the ceremony for over 10 years in the face of tremendous difficulties and is the only rights group to do so in Yangon. Now on to Copenhagen, Denmark. To celebrate Human Rights Day, Dignity Denmark organized a public event on December 10 in Copenhagen. Some of the choicest names in the European entertainment world, like Anisette, Hymns from Nineveh, Outlandish, and Falula, performed in the event titled Music for Dignity. Mr. Basil Fernando, Director for Policy and Programs at the Asian Human Rights Commission, was a guest of honor in the event and addressed the audience in the importance of celebrating freedom, equality, and dignity. In Asia, often discussion about rights are limited to serious talk and debates about their negation. The celebrations of freedom is forgotten. The event organized by Dignity hence was unique, wherein December 10th is also rightly seen as a day calling for celebrations of freedom, equality, and dignity. The following is an excerpt from Mr. Fernando's speech.
Today you have gathered in large numbers to be with the Dignity, which is an organization that has devoted itself particularly to fight against torture and ill treatment. I have had the privilege, together with my colleagues based in Hong Kong and working in 11 countries in Asia, to be closely associated with Dignity over a long period, as much as about 15 years. During this time, together with the Dignity, we have been able to meet and to share on the one hand, some of the most bitter experiences of people from many countries. At the same time, also the enormous determination to fight back and to keep their minds intact, keep their psychological integrity intact, and also to keep their dreams intact. And the lessons that we learn is that it is not true to say that mankind has lost or the humanity has lost its dreams. Today, with secularism, some say our reasons for morality was dead, and our dreams together with that morality has been dead. This is far from the truth. Today, the struggling humanity, struggling in many fronts, is demonstrating that it has the stamina, it has the morality, and it has the dream to symbolize what humanity has all throughout symbolized in its better times. Human Rights Day represents us the struggle against slavery, when the dignity of humanity rose against the indignity that was imposed on them, and we began to say to each other that we are equals. Today we also represent the day when people who were in colonial domination again rose and told to each other that we are equals, we want to be your brothers, we want to be your sisters, we want to share this world together. We also celebrate today the day of enormous struggle for the dignity of women. And this has been one of the greatest struggles of humanity. And the struggle in many parts of the world, although you in your countries have been more successful in the struggle, still in many other countries, there's still a long way to fight for the dignity of the woman, but that fight is also going on. We also celebrate today the prejudices that was imposed on the basis of sex, and today and against all kinds of sexual orientation. Today we celebrate together the human, the man and woman, the woman and woman, man and man, all in equal dignity, celebrating their life with responsibility in the field, in the life of sexuality.
And finally, Britain's recent move to cozy up to China to promote trade reached new and bizarre heights on Human Rights Day, when the British Embassy in Beijing appeared to praise China's effort to better protect the civil and political rights on its citizens. This statement, released to mark December 10th, makes no mentions of severe political crackdown underway in China this year under President Xi Jinping, which has seen hundreds of government critics, including human rights lawyers, arrested and jailed. Other governments, including US, Germany and Canada, took the opportunity to condemn Chinese worsening human rights record, particularly on issues of freedom of expression. That is all for Just Asia this week. For more on these and other issues, please visit www.humanrights.asia. Thank you for watching and see you next week.